Welcome back, guys, to another episode. Today, we're going to talk all things power development. I think it's pretty obvious that cricket is a pretty power-based sport, and the most powerful cricketers are typically the best cricketers. Look at the way the game is going. T20 cricket, franchise cricket, and if you want those opportunities in those tournaments, then you're going to need to be powerful. Like, gone to the day of, those slow cricketers, a bit overweight, bit chunky, not really pulling their weight. It's a different game these days. Cricket is so dynamic, and even for club cricketers and people that aren't full-time professionals, there's so many things popping up. I know in Melbourne, there's so much opportunities in some franchise cricket, 2020 stuff. There's stuff all over the UK and India and even like Dubai and stuff like that. There's tournaments popping up everywhere, which is so cool. But we know that power is dominating the game. 2020 cricket is the new age of cricket, and it's time to lean into that. I love my test cricket. I love it. But for the people that I coach, and I want them to have a great life experience and travel to these places and do all these crazy things, go overseas and play cricket. Power is the key and the most important thing to probably develop. As a cricketer, we talk about power hitting, we talk about bowling fast, we talk about throwing the ball hard, we talk about being dynamic in the field. It's all power. Power is the king of everything. I know my journey, I wish I was more powerful myself. I do not possess the natural genetics to be powerful. I am very much a slow twitch dominant man, and to be fair, when I was younger, I wish I trained to be powerful. I'm like, I wish I was getting powerful, but didn't quite get the training right, unfortunately. But luckily, through some learning and uni and coaching all you guys, then I figured out a way how to get people more powerful, and I wish I could do it myself when I was younger, but that's okay. That's why I'm here coaching, because now I've made the mistakes, and luckily for you, you don't have to, which is perfect. I think there's first of all, let's set the scene on what power is, and as a scientific equation, as a physics equation, power is force times velocity. So pretty much how strong you are versus how quickly you can apply that force. That's the key to power. So it's a nice little visual you can think of as a quadrant there, and this is how you can categorize yourself into one of these, and it sort of dictates on what you need to work on to make you more powerful. So we going off that equation, force times velocity, or strong and fast, make it easier. The more force you can produce, the stronger you are. And obviously, the more velocity you have, the faster you are. So we have people who are strong and fast. Those are our gun athletes. Those are the ones that just need to keep on doing what they're doing. They're doing the right things. You have in the other quadrant, the opposite quadrant, is weak and slow. So that's someone who doesn't really have any athletic prowess to them at the moment. They obviously haven't signed up to the high performance cricket coaching yet, where there's a link down below. So if that is you, you might want to join that, and we'll move you into one of those quadrants, get you more explosive. Now, then there's other people who are weak but fast, and you got other people who are strong but weak. Now, there's a lot of different ways how you can express power, but those are the four quadrants that I like to categorize a lot of people into. I'll have a little sip of the coffee and explain how each different quadrant should be trained and what you should be focusing on to develop your power. How good's a long black? Unbelievable. Love a coffee. So let's talk about people who are strong and fast at the start. As I mentioned before, like those are our gun athletes. Those are people who obviously have put a lot of work in the gym. There's obviously some natural genetic, freak going on. And with those kind of guys, you just needed to keep on training. Don't do too much, I think, is the key. When you have a Rolls Royce athlete like that, when you have a Ferrari, you don't take him out to go to the shops. You make sure you use your training load effectively. You don't overcook them. You make sure that if that's you, that you don't need to overtrain in a gym in particular or anywhere. You need to make sure you're doing the right amount of training for you. 2 to 3 sets per exercise, 6 to 8 exercises per session, and ticking the boxes there and keeping you in prime condition, keeping you on the field. That's the key. If we move down to someone who is strong but slow, this is where I think I slot into myself personally. And we sort of know those guys. The guys that are like good at the gym, go to the gym, but still just lack that power, like that burst. I'm looking at guys like, I'm thinking cricket-wise, like a Vernon Philander, that sort of body shape, a Dougie Bollinger comes to mind. People who, are strong but not very fast. And you can still be powerful that way. So that's for sure. But what you need to be working on is a lot of your power and velocity and a lot of like unweighted work. So we'll go into some methods later on, but you need to do a lot of work trying to improve your velocity because that's the limiting factor. You move to guys that are really elastic and powerful and fast, but not very strong. Typically more your skinny, wiry people, the guys who haven't been in the gym before. Those guys probably need to work on building up their strength to a minimum base level to get a little bit more powerful. Then the guys who are a little bit weak, they are slow, they got to work on a lot of things because, as I sort of mentioned before, ain't too much going their way. So they just got to get into the gym and just start training and start following a structured program for them. And then they'll start to see the results from there. I wonder what you sit into, what category you're in. Comment down below if you're on YouTube. Alrighty. Let's talk about, tendon versus muscle-driven athletes. And if anyone here's followed like Stephen Jones's work, he would have heard like hip-dominant or knee-dominant bowlers. And these, essentially what it means. There's some people who are more tendinous, more elastic. These people are the more skinnier frames, the more lighter, bouncier frames. They move more like gazelles. So like your Jofra Archer, for example. That skinny frame, often tall, bouncy, not very strong, but obviously powerful as. So he relies on those tendon-driven guys, rely on that elastic energy, like a quick recoil, and they respond well to plyometrics and speed work and power work. That's their strength. Often the lighter end of the power work, and what they probably aren't as good at is handling volume, handling lots of strength volume, but you still need to get them up to a level where like you're strong enough, but you don't need to like flog the strength thing. The strength isn't the strength, but you just need to make sure that strength isn't a limiting factor. So let's say like if you need to get your trap bar deadlift up to 1.25 to 1.5 times your body weight to make sure it's just not a limiting factor. So if you're 100 kilos, get it up to 125, 150 kilos from there. Easy maths to me there. Then you have guys that are like knee dominant or muscle driven athletes, and those guys, they love spending time on the ground. And you will see them that they're very strong and thick in the legs, and they respond so well to heavy strength training and just like Olympic lifts and heavy weighted jumps and stuff like that, because they can produce a lot of force, but just not quite as quick. So with those guys, they might need to do a little bit more like unweighted plyometric power stuff to bring up that limiting factor if that is a weakness of theirs. But if they're already powerful, then you might not need to do that. But if you're not powerful and you are really, really strong, you need to make sure that is not a limiting factor, that velocity side of it. So this is just how my mind works when I'm looking at an athlete and thinking, what decisions do I make in their program to make them more powerful and better at their sport, better at playing cricket. Now we look at something in regards to how we develop power is something called the force velocity curve. And essentially it is a trade-off between how heavy something is versus how fast you can move it. Obvious, right? Makes sense. Take the exact same movement pretty much. A squat, a 1 rep max back squat is at the top left. That's high force, low velocity because it's the heaviest thing you can do. Versus a vertical jump is down the bottom end and on the right hand side, because that is obviously low force because there's no weight and you can lift that heavy as. No, sorry, you can lift that fast, you can move that fast as because you're unweighted, you try and jump as fast as you can. So, in order to get powerful, we need to train both ends of the spectrum. You need to train your force and strength, and you need to train your velocity, your jumps. But there's also a part in the middle, isn't there? And that's where the missing piece is for a lot of times. This is where your Olympic lifts and your loaded jumps and things like that come into play, where we're doing things that are like moderately load, but still moving them really, really fast. So, there's a little bit in that. But essentially, we've got different types of athletes, different people with different athletic profiles, and the training is different for that. And if you're sitting here as a cricketer thinking, God, like crazy, what am I going to do? Then if you want a simplified program for you that's targeted specific to your needs, then once again, my coaching links are down below. This is what I do to help people just like you. So, common mistakes I see in power training is short rest periods. So, when it comes to power development, fatigue is our enemy. We hate it. We want to stay away from it because in order for the body to get more powerful, our training does, we put a stress on the body and we're telling the body, we need to get more powerful, otherwise we're not going to be able to do the things that we want to do. So, if your jumps are maximal, you're jumping as far as you can, your broad jumps as high as you can, that's great. We're telling the body, yeah, we need to charge up this nervous system and get ourselves more powerful. But if we're fatigued, right, and although you might be trying to jump as high or as far as you can, but if we're fatigued and we're not, then we're not going to be telling the body that. So that's why you'd be resting at least 3 minutes between your sets to allow your energy system, your nervous systems to recover so you can bring that intensity. Effort and intensity are not the same thing. So we can, try and jump as far as we can, but are you actually jumping as far as you can? And that's why it's cool to measure your jumps, like a broad jump, for example, and test that regularly to make sure you actually are doing that and doing that properly. That's probably the main thing. And then with the fatigue factor too, doing too much volume. So if you're doing 10 jumps in a set, which I've seen some shit-ass programs, even by some professional cricket teams, 10 jumps, 3x10 jumps. By the third jump, fourth jump, you are not going to be jumping as high as you can. So it's junk volume and it's wasting time. That's why I like to keep, sets and reps 4 sets maybe, very rarely actually, and then 2 to 3 sets, 2 to 4, maybe 5 reps, because it's the quality of the work that is the key. And you might think, oh, okay, well, even if I do 10 reps, the first 3 will be really, really good. But then you'll be too fatigued for the second set and third set and fourth set. With your power stuff, just undercook it. Do less than what you think. 100%. Less than what you think. Be scared of fatigue. We don't want it. Throw it away. I don't need it. Throw it away. Fatigue is our biggest enemy when it comes to developing your power. So here's how I go about developing a power program and where it sort of sits in exercise selection and what I do. So number one is we need to be able to measure how powerful somebody is. And without equipment, there's a couple of really easy ones to do. Number one is a broad jump. Super simple, just need a measuring tape. Bang, easy as. There's apps as well now, there's a jumping app and that to measure vertical jumps. That could be a way. So your jumps are a nice way to measure your power. And then you can do things like a triple hop too to look at more like your plyometric capabilities, but keep it simple, a vertical jump and a broad jump. 1 vertical, 1 horizontal force production. Easy and effective there. From there, let's build a program. So I start my gym sessions with a power and plyometric block. Typically, there'll be 3 of these exercises, but we're not doing them like back to back to back and we're rushing through. We're taking our time. We're not resting. The first exercise will be a pure power-based exercise. So like that would be a jump or a loaded jump or an Olympic lift, something like that. The next one will be something that's plyometric. And the differences between plyometrics and jumps is that plyometrics, there's a ground contact. So you're bouncing through the air, you're bouncing off the ground. Whereas a jump is more of like a single effort. Bang, one jump, vertical jump as high as you can. So there's no bounce. So we're looking at something to developing your bounce. And then we're looking at something, our med ball throw of some description. Looking at our upper body power, looking at developing your rotational power, our overhead throwing and bowling power. So that's how I typically set it up. A jump or a weighted jump, something that's plyometric in nature, locomotive, moving through space, and then a med ball drill as well. And once I said it, like as I said at the start, great talking, Jason. We're going to be focusing on not rushing through these. We're going to be taking our time, do our jump, we can cruise, get a drink, go to a plyometric, go cruise, get a drink, do a med ball one, rest our 2 to 3 minutes. Like we're not in a rush. These 3 exercises should take the longest out of all of our exercises because we want to be fresh as a daisy. We're not rushing these at all. Rest too long so you can bring that intensity for that first set. That's how I set that up. And it's important that you don't do power training every single day as well. That's something too I just saw in my notes. As I mentioned before, fatigue's their enemy. You want at least a day in between. Let's talk about some different methods as well for power development. Because obviously I'm talking a lot about the velocity side there at the start, but we also do need to build our strength. So after we do our power stuff, we'll then go into our strength block. Our A series, which will be probably a heavy trap bar deadlift, a heavy squat, a heavy step up, a heavy split squat, Bulgarian split squat, whatever it is, we're trying to get strong lower body most of the time. And if it's upper body power trying to develop, it's going to be a heavy press, a heavy row, etc. That's important to bring that intensity into that. Here's a couple of like advanced training methods that you can use to enhance your power development. One that I love and I use so much is contrast training. It's where you match a similar movement and you do them like back to back. So let's say potentially in like my A series, if we need a bit more power development, we've identified that. Might do a heavy squat to box. Let's say 3 reps. Rest 30 seconds to a minute. And then go and do 3 vertical jump, box jump, hurdle jumps, something like that. A vertical jump. Because what we're doing there is that we're utilizing the same movement pattern, something called a bit of post-activation potentiation. And we're enhancing that neuromuscular efficiency. We're trying to increase the rate of force development, increase fiber recruitment, and we're bridging the gap between speed and strength. Once again, make sure we're resting heaps in between that as well. I love that. I love doing a hip thrust into a broad jump. I love doing an upper body, like a bench press into like a med ball chest pass throw. So good. And it's so much fun to train that way as well. I love it. Next one you can look at is a French contrast. This is like old school as stuff. So similar to the normal contrast, but the French have a couple of different exercises in there as well. So it's like descending. See, I talk about that force velocity curve, right? With these, we're descending down. So we're starting heavy and then we're getting lighter and faster. So what you might do is like 2 reps of a heavy squat the box, followed by 2 jump squats with like a pause in the bottom. So we're still powerful and fast, but we're not using that elastic component. Then we're going to something that's like bouncy, like hurdle jumps. We're integrating that plyometric thing into that as well. More velocity, more speed. And then we're using bands to help us jump higher. So bands are hanging up above us and we're holding onto them. And we're using the bands to assist us to jump higher. So obviously we're moving faster than what we normally would just with body weight. So this targets all areas of the force velocity curve and we're trying to get power from there. Olympic lifts are one too for power development. They're more on the more like the middle part of this fat force velocity curve, where it's still moderate weight, but we're trying to move it fast. A lot of debate: should you Olympic lift? Should you not Olympic lift? Is it good for you? Whatever it is. My take on it is if you can Olympic lift, then go for your life. If you want to learn Olympic lift, let's learn. Let's do it. Do I program it for some people? Absolutely, 100%. It's a nice way to challenge people in the off season as well. Give them something new to focus on. I'm all for it. Are they essential? Do you need to Olympic lift to be a gun cricketer? No. Do you need to Olympic lift to be powerful? No. But at the same time, they could be fun. They're fun to do. I've started getting back into it. I wouldn't do full Olympic lifting for cricketers, but derivatives of it. So you get a full clean and jerk off the floor and you press it overhead. I wouldn't do that, but I'll do some power clean variations, some snatch variations. I think they definitely have a place. For me personally, if I'm coaching in person, I would do it when I only have a smaller group, not a bigger group, because once again, it's a technical lift you need to learn. So that's one thing there to consider. And if you do enjoy it, then I'll program it for you 100%. Next up, we've got some med ball exercises. So I categorize mine into an overhead one or rotational based. You can also do stuff that's more pushing and chest pass ones. Always a part of the program. Plyometrics as well are a part of this too, where we're trying to improve your bounce off the ground, pogos, bounding, hops. They're the go-to ones for me. Always got to be a part of the program. Always got to be there. So there's a lot of different methods you can use to develop your power. But to keep it really, really simple for you is you need to have something in your program that's developing your force. So you need to be getting stronger. You need to be having something in your program that's developing your ability to produce force really, really fast. So you got to move things fast. And then you need something in the middle where you move something moderately weight and move that fast as well. So for the same movement, it might be a heavy squat. Then you might go a weighted jump, like a trap bar jump. Then you might go a hurdle jump, for example. Surf the force velocity curve. Keep the reps and sets low. Keep the volume low. Rest a lot. Keep the intensity high. Don't cook yourself with it. And you will get more powerful. As I mentioned before, if you are interested in joining the team and the community and getting around everything that we're about here at High Performance Cricket, there are links down below for you to join the coaching program. Why not, I say. If you want different results with your cricket, you need to take action. And the people who are waiting for the right time and they hesitate and they need more information and they're not quite, they never ever take action and do something. Whereas the people who get somewhere are the people who just commit, take action, and they never regret it. And if it's not for them, they learn and then they have that life experience. I think it's a key in life. Do as much stuff as you possibly can. Try as much stuff as you can. Learn from everything and take action. The more you hesitate, the slower it takes for you to get better. As mentioned before, there's links down below to join my coaching. There's links down below for some free stuff, free running program, free 27 tips in 27 days to make you a better cricketer through my emails. Bang, that's it. That is how to get more powerful as a cricketer. If you've got any questions, leave them below in the comments. Send me a DM. And I can't wait to be back next week. And that's a wrap for today's show. Thanks for watching, guys. I know you haven't subscribed yet, so please make sure you do right now. Leave a review and let me know any feedback or any questions that you have from this previous episode. If you are interested in becoming the best cricketer that you've ever been and getting coaching from me, I have all my links down below in the description for either my in-person based in Melbourne or my online coaching where you can be anywhere around the world. Thanks, guys. Feel free to share with a friend, and thanks for tuning in. Win the day.